Hey there. So the mystery of where has Kristy been the last 2 months is about to be solved. The truth is, I've been so busy that something had to be compromised, and honestly, YouTube was the compromise. So I do apologize for everyone that was worried for me. Thank you for checking in on me. I'm just going to share a bunch of highlights from the last 2 months of what we've been up to. As you know, we grow flowers and vegetables. We are a homestead here where I grow and preserve as much food as I possibly can for the entire year. And to sustain that, I grow cut flowers and supply them to our local florists, as well as do a few on the farm sales. So this year has been interesting. As many of you have followed along, you know we had a major setback with the plague of the grasshoppers that moved in. Since some of my earlier videos this year, we did have some success. I was able to harvest quite a bit of stuff, and I think I've learned a lot that I can apply for next year. But I just wanted to show you that the abundance did fulfill itself once we got over that really nasty drought situation and a lot of the pests. I had sunflowers for days. It was actually really nice because I let them go to seed and then I used those seeds to feed my meat birds, which was a win-win. As you can tell, it is a beautiful display, and I actually quite enjoyed having all of these sunflowers behind the greenhouse. This was later on in the season where the Godacia had kind of come back with a new flush. They had been really heavily chewed back, as well as the Rudbeckia. The Rudbeckia, I was harvesting them quite heavy, so I didn't have a lot of blooms to show you, but we had lots of things going on in the garden, including vegetables that were just full of abundance. I had so many cherry tomatoes. I have a freezer, a deep freeze, right full of tomatoes again this year, and they produced beautifully. This is Iceman. For some of you that know him and were worried about him, last year he had some health issues and he is doing just fine. He is definitely enjoying little treats here and there whenever he decides he's not going to be a little turd and not want to be caught. It's a pony thing. I swear to you, it's a pony thing. The view behind the greenhouse before summer went kaput. I kind of missed this view already because, as you'll see later in the video, we have snow. But it was a beautiful year, even though it was very challenging. We had so much going on this year that we decided we needed to spend some time and do a little bit of a vacationing this year, and I'm going to take you along with us. These are the bison beside our yard. This is along our driveway. When you're pulling in, the herd of buffalo decided they like to lay there and enjoy the sun. But we took a trip. We went boating. We went on the North Saskatchewan River. This is what we call, or what is called, the Gap. And that is where Chaz caught his first rainbow trout. And he actually caught it on his old trusty white jig that he uses in the Peace River to catch little pike and such. That is called the Ram River, and this is where it confluences into the North Saskatchewan River. Tyson was enjoying the sunshine, and I caught myself a little white fish here. Of course, Molly came along with us, and she got into every bit of mud that she could possibly find. So Chaz was washing her feet, putting her in the boat, and then Tyson catch a fish. She'd jump out, and she'd have to go see what he caught. So it was a vicious little cycle we had, and she sure really liked to chase the trout, figuring she was helping. It was quite cute, actually. We took this opportunity to record our jet boating content and make a new YouTube channel since there was some complaints about having a homestead channel with jet boating. So if you are interested in watching our trip and some of the whitewater rapids that we went over with our jet boat, you can check that out. I will link the channel below. We could not go boating without making a stop at my beautiful niece's brand new lake lot where she built a house. And this is a sandbar. We didn't get stuck. We looked for the sandbar on this lake and found it. So we all decided to have a little lunch there. And then we discovered this party barge out in the middle of the lake. So basically, we did some boating, we visited with family, we went and took a look at my niece's beautiful house that she built. We were so lucky because the northern lights reached her house down there, which was very unusual. From our little vacation, we took as much advantage of Tyson being home for a few days as possible. Between my harvesting and delivering flowers and him being home, we just spent as much time as we could fishing and boating and working at home as we possibly could. We had some beautiful weather and took full advantage of that. Now, as you can see in this video clip, it's really smoky, and it has been smoky throughout the whole season. But the flowers were still beautiful, and the smoke actually helped with some of the pest pressure. We did have some beautiful weather while Tyson was home, so we did prioritize spending time together as a family, going boating and doing some fishing. This is interesting. I caught a pit-tagged fish. This is a radio tag, and I actually harvested the fish and I took it to Fish and Wildlife so that they could scan it and get the information off of it. So if you do catch one, please be sure to hand in your pit tag to your conservation office so that they can scan it and get the data, and make sure you give them the information. If you are measuring the fish or weighing it or whatever it is you're doing, make sure you collect that data as well. Really, really important for them to help with conservation efforts in populations of fish. And remember, especially for walleye, the bigger ones are the females, and those are your spawners. Those help keep you populated, so put them back. This bull moose in the rut decided he wanted to come and visit. I actually was doing a lot of fly fishing this fall. I dusted off my fly rod and I spent a lot of time at a little trout stocked lake. And this moose, he decided he wanted to come and have a little discussion, got scared of me, and he decided to swim across the lake. And it's really interesting. You can see fish jumping, and there's a beaver actually swimming to the right, and the moose is to the left. After all of that adventure, I had to go pick up my bulb order. This is our Van Noort order for our spring tulips, which are fall planted bulbs. And let me tell you, this was a project. We planted most of these. We did get a lot of them. There was a lot of them that didn't come in that I had ordered from this place and then some other places as well. But we did get them all planted. So I just basically finished out the fall amending beds, weeding, mulching, fertilizing, and planting bulbs. And it was just mayhem trying to get on top of that. Then we had beautiful weather. So I ended up harvesting flowers well after our last frost, which was phenomenal because that gave me 2 weeks of profits that I wasn't anticipating. So I was very, very happy with that. It was great. We had such beautiful weather hold out. Even the zinnias, I was harvesting zinnias in October. It was great. The frost did come and damage some of them, but the Benary Giants actually stood up very, very well. And I was very happy with them once we got over some of the nasty weather that we dealt with and some of the pest pressure. So it was a great year. It finished out beautifully. Even the cosmos, I mean, after we had some killing frosts, these guys come back. They did great. And I wish I would have had more footage, proper footage, because you'd be surprised how well they did. We had so many little things that appeared. The abundance just, it it showed itself in so many ways this season, and I couldn't be happier. Even the hydrangeas, they did a really nice comeback, and I did notice that anything that was amended with the mushroom spores and the worm castings, they didn't get bothered with the pest pressure, and they made a much greater comeback from the drought pressure that we had, the stress that we had on the plants. Even my inside the greenhouse, anything that had pest invasions in it, they all made a complete comeback. And actually, I was in the greenhouse today, and it was minus 12 at night, degrees Celsius, and I could still dig around and find blooms in there if I really tried. So I cannot say how important it is to have healthy soil, because I've learned so much just seeing it unfold, that the microbes, the microbiome, and the fungi in the soil make the world of a difference. And the sugar content or the Brix reading in the plant, or the Brix level in the plant, does make a difference as well. So besides the plants and the distraction the bulbs, here, let's get back to the bulbs. I will do a separate video of all of the bulbs. This was me packing orders. So I had sold some bulk orders to some other growers, and there was just so many bulbs to go over in this video. So I'm going to do a separate one, but there were several hundred that I packed up and sold, and then the rest, whatever I didn't sell, I planted them. These ones here, whatever was left over, I did put them into the fridge. So I'm going to try forcing them in crates inside the house, and that'll be separate videos. Hopefully I will get around to that. But we've just had such beautiful mornings. I've just appreciated being able to go outside and not have to deal with the smoke, especially during this planting, when I was out there planting 9,000 bulbs in the ground, which is how many went in, was approximately 9,000 bulbs I planted this fall. Thankfully, Tyson was able to help, and Chaz as well. He helped me plant the garlic, and he helped with some other important jobs while I was planting the bulbs. So it was really a team effort, and I'm so grateful to have had the support this year, and the weather was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So very, very grateful that everything turned around, and I'm happy. I'm happy with it. So for the flower farm, because I ended up planting more than I was anticipating, I thought I was going to be planting in a different garden space this year, and I also was anticipating selling more bulbs, and that didn't happen because many people that had spoken for some had backed out because of their budgets and whatnot. But I planted these. I'm hoping to perennialize as much as I can. And so the plan so far moving forward is going to be having more events like bouquet bars or you pick events where I'm going to help teach people what I'm doing here for practices and show them or demonstrate, bring my microscope out there, set it up, and show them soil samples of how I'm getting things to grow, stuff like that, as I'm learning and collecting this data. So as you can see, the flowers and the plants are doing phenomenal, even though we've had major frosts. They're doing so well. The hydrangeas are beasts. I did finally take out the tomatoes in this video. I had a few standing still there, but the bees were thriving on what I had out in the field. Still, I have these beautiful raspberry bushes that they just get covered in bees, and I'm really glad that I planted them. I'm actually looking at planting more to feed them someplace where they're protected from our birds, like the guineas, because the guineas really like to feast on the bees. So, and the chickens, they're such a pain. We have decided to put up fencing for our hens, because I have like 30 hens supposed to be laying eggs, and I've only been able to collect 3 a day because I can't find them, and this happens. And my most common phrase that I say daily is effing chickens. So that needs to change, and we have put in posts for next season to fence them in. They're lovely birds, and I like having them follow me around like little puppy dogs, but they gotta go. So this is another harvest. This was 2 weeks after our killing frost. Look at these flowers. I delivered these to the nest in Manning. She designed with them. I took them straight to the florist. I was picking flowers like there should be no reason that these should be still blooming, and here they were. It was great. I even found a volunteer tomatillo in the garden. It was a beautiful fall, and I'm so grateful. This hen finally decided to stop being broody. She was really a pain in my butt for the last couple months. And Chaz was helping me in this little video clip. He was lifting some of the ranunculus corms while I was planting tulip bulbs. And it was such a great help. I'm so grateful he was able to do that for me. The horses were bystanders, and Tyson actually, he came and he was helping me as well. He did some planting. Tyson planted approximately 3,000 bulbs himself. So, you know, standing ovation for Tyson, because this is not for the faint of heart. He's not a fan of getting down and planting bulbs one by one, 9,000 times. Not his thing. He doesn't feel like being a human bulb printer. Back and forth, but he did help me, and I was really appreciative. He did do some of the trenching, and he helped cover them in. It was so nice to have that extra help this year, and the overwhelmingness of the weight of the season, the weight of harvest, as you know, on a homestead, just that one thing of getting that food in, preserving it, putting it up, plus this at the same time, it can be very overwhelming. And I didn't have a lot of food to process this year, but it was still very overwhelming. And just having a family here helping, it was really, really wonderful. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed actually planting this season, and I'm really looking forward to how beautiful it's going to be with 9,000 new flowers coming up on top of all of the ones that we had already planted. I'm really looking forward to what it's going to look like. And, you know, we're getting close to having like over 20,000 perennials on our farm, which is phenomenal. And I'm pretty excited to be able to share that with you. And Chaz, he really got things done. He's a hard worker. I do have this row particularly was made specifically for just the florist ones. So the customers that come to the farm, they have a different varieties. These ones are specific, unique to my florists and what they would uniquely be using for their designs. So I raked our leaves up, and we mulched in all of the rows, and inside of the greenhouse we mulched it up with the leaves, and including our garlic. In this clip we are planting garlic, and we ended up actually mulching the garlic as well with leaves and amending the soil with that as well. So Chaz helped with that as well. It made it really nice to have that extra help, because we planted 2 rows, approximately 4 pounds of garlic, seed garlic. So just wanted to quickly show you something that I learned with regenerative egg practices that I've been practicing here on the Hotchkiss Flower Farm. So as you can see, I just planted this with some bulbs, but these are perennials, and I wanted to share something with you because I think a lot of us have problems with weeding and keeping up on the weeds. So this bed here, I've sort of not had a lot of weed pressure in this little patch here, because I've really focused on working on a lot of living roots. So it's underplanted with daffodils, and then I have perennial sedum growing on top, and then I have a early spring and late fall season with this. The roosters are just driving me nuts today, by the way. But I have a long season with those for landscaping and for cut flower crops, and I have no weed pressure. And in the soil, you want to have living roots at all times. So here I'm doing some planting as well.
And I'd left this section, a problem section in my garden, to see what types of weeds grew. And I'm going to explain why. So you can see there's a lot of clover and a lot of plants that have very deep taproot systems. And what I'm doing here is I'm using that to inform myself of what is causing some problems here, what is lacking in the soil. So there's no weed pressure against these weeds because the nutrients in the soil don't support other weeds that would grow. That's why the ones with all the weeds that have long tap roots are the ones that are thriving here right now. So that tells me I need to plant something here as a crop that has a very similar growing profile with a long taproot. And I actually have an example of that right here. This is the same kind of situation was happening like here that was happening over there. I have not weeded this section of the garden at all. The frost kind of took it out a bit, but I actually added plants here that have a very long taproot, just like the clovers and just like those weeds over there. There's one weed here that grew. This one here is not a taproot weed, it's a different type of weed. So there's something else going on in the soil now that it's lacking. So I've noticed there's no clover growing in here, and there's no dandelions growing in. Well, there's one dandelion right there. But around the plants that have the long taproots, there's no weed pressure at all. I did not weed these. So this tells me that whatever was going on with the soil, these plants that have a long taproot have overtaken the weed pressure. These plants are putting pressure on the weeds so they cannot grow. And that has alleviated a lot of the weed pressure that I've had because I'm putting plants in here that are able to regenerate the soil. And so now what I'm noticing is I have shallow weeds popping up. So these plants have brought nutrients higher up out of the soil with their long taproots. And they've brought different fungi and microbiome to the surface of the soil, which is now able to help other plants thrive. So what I need to look at is maybe do I do it underplanting? Maybe I want to plant some cover crop here to have a shallow taproot. There's all kinds of different avenues I can go with this to kind of eliminate. So the regenerative practices is to take a look at the roots, or take a look at the weeds, see what's growing and what type of weeds are growing. And here I can clearly see these are all deep taproot weeds, and that means that that's what will thrive there, something with a long taproot, which would be lupins. So these are lupins. These have frozen several times, and look at how healthy these leaves are. This one's a little droopy, but because they have a really good healthy system in the soil, they're not being taken out by these cold temperatures. Because they're thriving, they are healthy, they have a very strong immune system, they're very, very healthy plants. So actually look, they're starting to grow again since we had our initial freeze. So that tells me that this is working in my favor. And where I don't have any planted, you can see I don't have any deep taproot plants planted here. And look, we have a clover immediately. So clover, nothing, clover, right? Wherever I had not planted deep taproot plants. So I hope this is helpful in some way. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about regenerative practices. I'm actually examining and looking at the soil, paying attention and trying to maximize what I can grow with what conditions I have, and how I can replenish the soil by what I'm growing in rotation. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Bye for now, you guys.
So besides doing my amendments and such, I did pull my bulbs. These are my calla lily bulbs. I also pulled my dahlias, and I did discover they had galls, so I discarded them. But mostly after that, I just did preservation, and I hit a deer. With the Durango, and I did a lot of baking and processing chickens and food preservation, such as preserving my eggs as pasta. I made homemade ricotta cheese, and I made homemade ravioli. I made lots of these batches. I made actually 12 batches of pasta, and I preserved them in my freezer, and we'll be enjoying those this winter and using our farm fresh free range eggs that I collected and harvested earlier this year. So I'm really happy with that. I did dry a bunch of pasta. I actually hung the linguine and lasagna noodles. I hung them up on my oven rack, and you'll see that later. But I just wanted to show you that I made these, froze them, and they work great. This is pasta with kale that I freeze dried from last year. This is homemade ricotta cheese from 2%, and that's the drying I did. This was a week's worth of processing. I even made bow ties and freeze dried broccoli and soup, pressure canned. So, these dried beautifully. I used the Acre Homestead pasta recipe for that, and it was really, really good. I made bone broth out of my chicken carcasses. So once the snow started today, I feel like almost a sense of relief. I'm ready for the season to change. This is my season for rest. It's been really busy. Even though that it seems like I haven't got a lot done, I've been really busy. Besides, getting the yard cleaned up and ready and everything mulched in, and I mulched the rows in. Tyson helped me with that. We also mulched our pathways with old hay. I just wanted to keep my soil nice and covered. So, there's so much to do, and just the yard cleanup and processing firewood and just being prepared. Plus, Chaz has been doing lots of stuff. He's in grade 10 this year, so he's been doing a lot of things. So it's this ongoing rush in the fall, and today was the day I felt like I could breathe and just let winter set in. It's actually a great feeling. I feel ready. So very happy with the season, even though it was very challenging, as you had seen earlier if you watched our videos. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these come up in the spring. They're all mulched in with leaves here, and I'm hopeful. I did leave the status, as you can see to my right, there's a row of greens, that's status, and I'm going to leave it and see what happens. I've heard people say that it is perennial here, so I'm not sure about that, but we're gonna try. Littles really enjoys sticking his nose in my business here, but I think it's gonna be a good year. I'm really looking forward to it. There's 2 beds of garlic, and then that far row, two far rows are lilies. So we also did some remodeling in the chicken coop and got all of our birds moved in, and they're happy as can be. There's a lot of chickens and guineas sharing residence in here, and we introduced a new rooster that we took out of the meat pen and introduced him in here to try to we have some hens that are really naughty, and we're trying to get him to bring them in, and it actually is working. He's the boss of them, and they're all migrating into work together and live together in harmony. So that's really a happy thing. And they are getting along. We did have to put some branches and trees in here for our guineas, because our guineas are wild beasts that refuse to come inside unless they have trees. So now that they have the trees, they are sleeping inside more, and that makes me happy because we did have some predator issues. That guy on the left is the new rooster. He is he's the man of the house now. So this is the fence we're going to be putting in here. I had to order, or Tyson had ordered some wire, and yeah, it's all mulched in. These are the old tulips from this year. I'm going to try to perennialize a lot of them. These are some of the lilies. I mulched those in with leaves. Everything is full of leaves. I mulched up or raked up the lawn leaves and put them on all of my beds, because man, that worked great last year, and it really helps our plant health. So definitely a cheap organic matter fertilizer to be using. I'm ready for winter. Bring it. Good old Canadian winter. Just please don't be minus 50 below Celsius again, because Jesus, that was awful last year. But I'm hoping that we're going to be slow and steady into this, and no freezing rain, just a beautiful decline of temperature, and happy surprises in the spring where we discover all these magical, amazing things that we didn't know we could grow here. And I'm looking forward to it. I don't have much in here. I am doing an experiment with some of the ranunculus. I did leave some ranunculus corms in here, and I mulched them with like 8 inches of mulch. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to winter them over here in zone 2, because they are zone 6 and zone 5. So we'll see. We will see. But so far the yard has been cleaned up. We've tidied a lot of stuff up here and got prepared, so we're ready for the snow to come. We were planning to move that the cabin, but that didn't happen this year, so that'll be a next year project. But we've been cutting firewood. That's another thing that's been on the list of things we've been doing the last couple weeks, or the last month. We've done this work the last month, cutting firewood, getting it stacked in here. We've actually been burning quite a bit. I've probably burnt 2 rows of it already. Since like this is since we've been, or this is now, this was today, but I've burnt quite a bit out of what was in here, so it's not as full as it was when we were working on it. So as you can see, there's quite a bit missing from those sides. But yeah, it's been busy. I'm ready. We got the roosters processed just in the nick of time and in the freezer, so I'm very grateful for that. So cheers. Cheers to a year done. And we brought our boat home. We're ready for the season of change and rest, and I'm just grateful. So I'm hoping that this was a helpful video in some capacity, so that you don't give up on your flower farming or homestead dreams, that even in the hardships, you do have to make time for yourself, and there is abundance and beauty and magic and just fulfillment in little things. Even if it seems like it's impossible, you got to find balance, and it'll all work out in the end. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully soon in the next video when I do a unboxing of what varieties I planted this fall. And if you want to check out my video from our jet boating, I will link that below. We'll see you soon.